Yo, what's up, guys? We're gonna go over some exception handling today. So, what do exceptions do? If your code breaks, exceptions are thrown. That's simple terms. Um, a more deeper way to say it is they provide an alternative course of action in the event of a runtime error. And let's see, how does Java handle exceptions? So basically, Java protects the code throwing the exception by specifying what happens when something goes wrong and what happens no matter what. And that is done through a try catch block. You try your risky code, you catch your error, and then you finally do this. You can kind of think of it as another if else statement. The way it's set up, it's not an if else statement, but you know, the structure of it. When and what to use. So exceptions, they are subclasses, or no, they're subclasses of throwable, and from throwable we have two classes, error and exception. Um, you use error when like some really messed up stuff happens. You want to use exception for general exception handling, and then from exception there's a subclass runtime exception. It's for a specific use that you know you can handle. Now for methods throwing exceptions, you can either declare the class that the method is inside of to throw the exception. You can throw the exception, throw the method after the check and, oh yeah, I'm sorry. You can you can throw the exception. You can throw the exception after the check inside the method, or you can try catch block and catch the method, add method invocation, or you can you can run a try catch block at method invocation. Let's get started with our first example. Let's create a new class. Let's do exception demo1. So first let's do a public static main takes in a public static void. Sorry about that. It takes in a string of array, an array of strings. We're going to call that args. So first let's declare an integer, call that R, an array of ints, call that array, call it R, whatever. We're gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's print this array to the system out print, and we are going to print our array of integers, and we're going to print out the index of, let's say, 12. And now look what we have here. We have an array index out of bounds. This right here is an exception that Java gives you. We're not going to be handling the exception in this class. I just wanted to show you what an exception is, and how they're used in the event you have some messed up code. This is messed up code, for example. So now let's go to exception demo 3, demo 2, my bad. Let's see, let's do a public static, let's do another main method. Main takes in an array of strings, call that arguments. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. So let's take our array And now in the demo one, we had array out of index. In our demo two, we're going to catch that. Array index out of bounds, sorry about that. In our demo one, we had array index out of bounds. That's the error that was being thrown. In our demo two, we will catch that error. So as I explained before, we have a simple try catch block. So let's write try, and this is our risky code. Okay, so our risky code is going to be the same code that we put in our exception demo 1. We're going to print out this array. We're going to get the array at index of 25, 35. And we have an array index out of bounds. Now, this is what we call our catch. We're going to catch the array, not the array, sorry. We're going to catch the exception. So the exception that this would be throwing would be array index out of bounds. And we're just going to call that E. And what do we want to do inside the catch? Do what inside catch. So what do we want to do? Let's print out inside catch. Inside catch. Sorry about that. And then we want to print out, what do we want to print? Let's see, what do we want to print? Let's print out the error dot, oh yes, so the array index out of bounds exception comes with, here, let's just go to it. The array index out of bounds exception extends index out of bounds exception. Again, these are just subclasses of different exceptions for abstraction, but let's see. Oh, damn, it goes deep. What do you get? Runtime exception. It goes deep, man. Let's see what we have. Alright, so with our array index out of bounds exception, it goes deep. Just a bunch of extensions from different exceptions. But at the end, we get a throwable. This is the main class, the parent class, throwable, which implements serialize. Might have explained that wrong earlier, but we get a bunch of methods. But the one we're going to use is we're going to print the message of the array. So it's going to tell us what the array is, not the array. We're going to print the message of the exception. So it's going to tell us what the exception is. So e dot get, the hell? E dot get message. And then finally, do this no matter what. So let's just print out to the system and finally and yeah, that's it. So let's run this and see what we get. So what happens? So at the start of the program, we have this array, and then we get to this try block, and we're going to print the array index of 35, but we don't have index of 35. The max we can go to is index of 8. So it throws an exception, but we're catching that exception inside of our catch block, and we call it E. Array index out of bounds exception will be referred to as E. And then now we are inside the catch. We are printing e.getMessage. The array index out of bounds has a getMessage method that we can use, and the message is index 35 out of bounds for length 8. We're printing array index of 35, which we do not have because the array can only go to length of 8. Now we are in the finally. So I hope that demo helped. Let's go over to the next one. So for exception demo 3, again, gotta do public static void, call that main. Sorry about that. It accepts a string. What the hell? Accepts a string, call that args. An array of strings, call that args. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to be catching, let's catch a string exception. So let's create a new string, and we're going to call that str, and hello exception demo 3. Let's get our try catch block. Try catch. Sorry about that. And then finally. So, what are we going to try to do? This string has an amount of characters. I don't know how much it is, but we're going to try to print out a character at some random index. So print out to the system. Let's get our string dot character at index of 45. I do not think it has 45. And then here we are. Java is telling us argument is out of bounds. So what are we going to catch? We will catch an exception for general use. Let's do that. As I said before, there are multiple subclasses. We don't need to handle this. We can use exception instead of the specific exception. This will still work because the specific exception that we want to catch, I don't know the exact one. It's gonna be some string out of index or something. I don't know, some name. That is a subclass of the exception class, and the exception class is a subclass of the throwable, which has all the methods. So we can just use any exception, pretty much. Yeah. So let's print out to the system. And catch. We're going to print out e.getMessage. And finally. We don't need the finally, I guess. And let's see what this is. Okay. Forget about this. I don't know what this is. Let's just see what this is. Method in Java line system's been called. Load. This might be because I'm using. Okay. I'm using Java 24. That's why. So the error that we get is index 45 out of bounds. So it's character index out of bounds or something. That's the specific one we would catch. But we're looking for index of 45. We only have an index of 22. So that's demo number 3. Um, let's go to demo number 4. So let's get this. And actually no, we need a main. Public static void main takes in an array of strings. Takes in an array of strings, call that args. So we have our string. Now let's try to catch another random index. So let's try some risky code. Let's try to print out the string at character of let's see, the index is 22, so let's do 67. It's not gonna work, obviously, so we need to catch the exception. Now the specific exception that this print statement would be throwing, oh crap, would be string index out of bounds exception. So we can call that E, and as I said before, due to abstraction, we can just call the exception and get the message. So let's print out to the system and catch. And catch. And then print to the system. We don't need the string. E dot get message. And we don't need the finally. Or, you know what? Let's do the finally. Don't forget about the finally, guys. And what do we want to print? Let's do finally exception handled. Alright, let's run this, see what we do. Alright, so at the top, we have a string. It has index of 22. And we are trying to get the index at 67, but we don't have that. So what do? We throw the error right here. String index out of bounds. Catch error. Exception, not error. Sorry. We're going to catch we're going to catch the exception, and we're going to print the message. And remember, we're going to do this no matter what. Alright, now that works. Now let's get to demo number 5. This demo, we're going to create a new scanner. We're going to call it input equals new scanner, and we're going to give it system.in so we can collect input. We also need a main method. Public static void main takes in a string, an array of string, str. Takes in an array of string, call it args. Now, let's start this with a do while loop. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the do while loop, we are going to do this block of code before anything else. So what are we going to do? We're going to print out to the system. Let's see. What is the super class of all exceptions? And then let's create an int. Call that, no, we don't need an int. Create a string. Call that super class. And that is going to be the next input from the scanner. So we're going to bring in our scanner, and we're going to get dot next line. Actually, let's do it on the same. Let's do it on, oh yeah. Let's do the same line. And that's right. We have to bring this in here. Oh, we don't have to bring that in here. It's public. Public static. Alright, make that static. There we go. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna ask. So first, we're gonna ask for the superclass name. Okay, and then what are we gonna do next? What do we need to do next? We're gonna try something. Let's try something. We're going to try if we're gonna do if super class is not equal to, we're gonna create our own exception. Call it super class of exceptions dot get super class name So if it does not equal the name, we give it um, we're going to throw a new super class of exception, and we're going to we are going to print wrong. Okay, we're just gonna print wrong. And then all else, not all else, but we're going to print. So if they do it right, we're gonna print good job. And then we're going to break the program. Now, what are we gonna catch? We're going to catch the super class of exception. We're going to call that E. And what are we going to do inside of here? We're going to print out to the system. What the hell? We're going to print out to the system e.getMessage. I guess I don't need that. e.getMessage. And we're going to do all of this while true. And by default, everything is true. So now let's make this exception. So super class of exception. Now, as I said before, this is we have to extend the actual exception subclasses. So extend, is this a runtime exception? Yeah. We're going to extend runtime exception. And we're going to give it a private variable. We're going to make it final. It's going to be a string. And we're going to call it superclass, I guess. And it is throwable, I believe. Let's see what it is. Pretty sure it's throwable. Yes, it's throwable. Okay, now we're going to create a constructor for the exception, super class of exception, and it takes in a string, call it message, and oh crap, sorry about that. Takes in a string, call it message, and we're gonna call the super, and we're gonna get the message. Now, for the good part, public static string get superclass. Get superclass name, and we're going to return our superclass. No, yeah, we're gonna get our superclass of exception. We're gonna get the class. Oh yeah, so because this is static, this is a variable like for use by the class. So we can just call the class dot superclass, and there we go. And then put these in. We should be good. So what should happen? We have first we're gonna ask for a name. We're going to get a name. Okay. We're going to get a name. I forget that. If the if the name is not correct, we're gonna throw an error. If it's right, if it is right, we're going to print good job, and close the program. The error that we are catching is from our custom exception. And we're going to print out the message. I'll see what happens. What is a superclass of all exceptions? Let's see. Let's mess it up first. Runtime exception. Wrong. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. What's the right one? Throwable. What the other wrong? THROW. Oh, I see. Yeah, so string values are compared using not dot equals. So, yeah, okay, I don't know how to fix this, but if object dot equals the superclass, okay. Okay, what the hell? What does this do? Okay. If the superclass that we pass in, the name, does not equal superclass of exception dot get superclass name. Okay, I see. So we have to use object dot equals, and we pass in the superclass. So if it does not equal the superclass of exception, superclass dot get name or whatever. Okay, that makes sense. So let's write that. If not name that, if not correct name, let's keep that. So now let's try this again. Let's do blah blah blah. That's wrong. Throwable. Good job. There we go. So I hope this example helped. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay, exception demo 6. What are we gonna do for this one? In this example, we're going to, let's create a min method. Takes in a string of arguments. Taking a string of arguments. And what are we gonna do? We want this. Let's forget about that. This demo is methods throwing exceptions, and specifically checked exceptions. We must wrap an invocation of the method throwing the exception in a try-catch block to handle the checked exception, or we can declare the invocation to throw the exception. IO exception is a checked exception, so that's what we're going to use in this example. So we already have this handle IO exception, and it's throwing a checked exception. We're making sure that it throws a checked exception. But the tricky part is what happens when we run the code or try to run the code. So let's make a try block. We're going to try to run this method, and like I said before, checked exceptions. The exception must either be caught in a try-catch block, so we have to catch it like this. We could do IO exception, and we're good. I don't know why that's not working. Oh, that's why it's not working. Yeah, so we could do that. Yeah, let's just do this. So yeah, this could be any method, but specifically because this method throws IO exception, which is a checked exception, we have to catch it. We have to catch the exception because it is checked. In the case of an unchecked exception, we wouldn't have to catch it because it is unchecked. So let's print to the system get message, and then let's do the finally block. And finally, let's do exception handle. And let's run this code, see what we get. Okay. So we invoke this method, handle IO exception, which throws IO exception. And when we throw that exception, we call the constructor and we pass in this message right here. Now, we catch the checked exception, IO exception, and we're not printing the message for some reason. I think it's because, okay, we don't print the message, I think because it's actually not an error. We just have to catch it. Let's see. How many if we do just exception? What does it do? Okay, so we just don't get this at all. I don't know what the reason of that is, but Yeah, hopefully someone can let me know. Now, let's go through the flow again. This method throws IO exception, a checked exception. In the try block, we are invoking that method, which throws an exception, a checked exception. All checked exceptions must be caught in a try catch block, or the main method has to be not the main method, but the method has to be declared to throw the exception, like this. So we can completely get rid of this. Pretty sure. Yeah. We can get rid of this. Comment this out. And let's do handle IO exception. And yeah. There we go. It throws the exception. But that's simpler. You can do this way. I feel like the previous way was kind of seeing how it works under the hood. But yeah, so let's get rid of this. This is just another way of doing it. And yeah, just go to exception demo number 7. Alright. Let's see. What are we gonna do? Alright. Let's create a string, call it str, and that will equal hello exception demo 7. Now, what else? Let's create an integer array, an array of ints. No. We're gonna create an array of ints, but we're gonna use wrong syntax. This is C++ or C style syntax. Set that equal to, what do we want? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. Okay. Now let's do our public static void main takes an array of string, call it args. Now we're going to try to print out the string that we made at the character index of, okay, you have to bring these in there. It's 55. It's not there, but we'll throw string out of index. Okay, we're going to try to print out character index 55, which isn't there. It's going to throw the exception. We're also going to try to print out our array at index of 65, and this will print out, or not print out, this will throw the exception index out of bounds, or array index out of bounds. Okay, and now we want to catch these exceptions. So we can catch either or exceptions. First, let's try to catch string index out of bounds. or array index out of bounds, and we're going to call this error E. Sorry. We're going to call this exception E, and we're going to print out e.getMessage. Index 55 out of bounds for length 22. So, what did it do? What did this code do? We have two risky lines of code right here. And this, so then we're going to try these two risky lines of code. But you may be wondering, what happened to the index out of bounds, seeing that we tried them both? Well, in this case, if you try to catch two exceptions together, either or, it's going to go with the exception that you catch first. So if we were to, let's see, change this, no, let's do array index out of bounds, and then let's do string index out of bounds. There we go. Okay, that's not what it does. It actually will go with the first line of code that it tries. Did not know that. Does not. So, good thing to know. The catch does not care which one it doesn't care which one it gets. The print, the message, it's going to print whatever error it caught first. So print first error caught. Okay, it prints the first error that it catches. I did not know that, but now you guys know that. So if we were to delete this and paste it here, we should get the array index out of bounds. There we go. Yep. Okay. That's all the demos. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I hope they made sense. See you guys in the next video.